Hello, hello, welcome. Happy to have you in my session here in BizCon. Allow me to share my slide for my presentation. Okay, so my topic will be academic support for the Philippine game development industry growth. A brief introduction who I am. I'm Norman Lee. I'm a member of the technical committee on emerging technologies. So it's a committee that is handling the baseline curriculum for game development and animation programs. So in the Philippines, the Commission on Higher Education actually has baseline curriculums through a CMO wherein schools, universities, colleges will need to adhere to the minimum requirements. So we're the committee that handles that. I'm also a faculty member in De La Salle College St. Benilde under the game design and development program. I was also at one point was the academic representative at the Game Developers Association of the Philippines. So for today, I will be presenting the following. So first is a brief history on the relationship between the Commission on Higher Education or CHED and GDAP, particularly on the academic initiatives. So and then it will be were the effects, what were the positive effects of having government supporting such academic initiatives and actually uh, allowing schools to come up with programs. Then I'll also be talking about the most latest initiative or update, which is the Philippine Skills Framework and how this will affect um, education in the Philippines, and how can the Commission on Higher Education um, help support this and align actually the tertiary and of course the PSF in order to come up with a baseline curriculum that will help cater to the industry on what skills or what talents the industry needs. And lastly, I'll be sharing the last or the latest initiatives and support done by the Commission to help support the GDAP and the animation industry. So here is a brief history on between the Commission on Higher Education or the CHED and the Game Developers Association. Okay, so we've been working with CHED for a long time. And in fact, it was late 2009 when we started engaging with the commission and introduced them that the industry needed has much needed talent. They need talent in order for the industry to grow. At that time, the industry was at its infancy, but there were a lot of opportunities. And the problem was we don't have the necessary talents, the numbers of talents that we need in order to cater to all the opportunities. So at that point, the GDAP and the Animation Council of the Philippines engaged with the Commission. And in 2012, the Commission started a committee called the Technical Committee on Emerging Technologies. And the main purpose of this committee was to help produce the baseline curriculum to help support the initiatives of the game industry and the animation industry. And in 2014, all the hard work, the people involved from both industries and the commission, the technical committee was able to release what we call the Bachelor of Science in Entertainment and Multimedia Computing. And that's on last 2014. And that baccalaureate degree had two majors. So major in game development and major in digital animation technology. So having had the CMO, this opened the door for schools to start offering degree programs on game development, on digital animation, or on both. Okay, so it really depends on the school if they want to offer maybe one of the majors or both majors at the same time. Now, going back to the technical committee, the committee already was looking into what were the next upgrades or updates to the EMC, the BSEMC. And in 2017, the committee also still with the help of industry of both GDAP and ACPI, we came up with draft curriculum. And during that time, we named it as BS Game Development with having two majors, particularly game programming, and then the other majors game art. And then for animation, there was a BS Digital Animation Technology, the major in 2D and a major in 3D. Of course, all this was put to a pause because the BSEMC was quite early for us to put some changes at that point. We haven't graduated even a cohort yet under the BSEMC, so we had to pause that. And of course, everyone knows what happened 2 years after, rather 2 years after the pandemic hit, and everything was paused at that point. Now, since everything is starting to open up already, it's high time to go back and review the BSEMC. But okay, so with the BSEMC being signed, approved, and released, and schools starting to offer game development courses, this had a very positive effect, right, to industry. So you see the industry grow. Right? So I remember as one of the early implementers in 2009 for game development education, there were just a handful of game industry players or game dev players, right? And then now you have more than tripled, more than triple the number, or even quadrupled, or even 5 times or 6 times the size of what it used to be. Okay, and one of the or two of the major events that we can say that there was a positive growth is actually the increase in participation rate for two major game events. Okay, so one is the Global Game Jam, the other one is the Game On. Okay, so for those who don't know what the Global Game Jam is, it's a 48-hour hackathon wherein you will make a game within 48 hours based on a theme. Right? So the IGDA introduced this in the Philippines, I believe around 2009. And there were just a few hosts who host the Global Game Jam 2009, 2010. Right? And since the creation of the CMO, since the release of CMO, there were more schools offering game development. There was also an increase in the number of participants in the Global Game Jam, as well as hosting the Global Game Jam in their schools. So for Binild, we've been hosting it since 2011, and until and we have not ever not did a game jam. So it's part and parcel part of the skills building in the College St. Benil. Right? So, but going back to the positive thing, it wasn't only Benil that had an increase in participation, but also other schools started hosting and participating in the Global Game Jam. We can also see this in the Game On, in GDAP's Game On. GDAP created this Game On competition in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, around 2010, 2011. And during that time, it was just a handful of students who participated. And the Game On's intent was really to find the youth, for the youth to see the viability of jumping to game development and building games, and seeing the viability of having a career in games. Okay? So then later on, GDAP changed the Game On format into it being a platform wherein capstone projects from schools are submitted. Right? So there was an increase, a very, very big increase in the participation rate for Game On through the years. Okay? So that's mainly because there are schools who now, because of what happened with the commission, um, uh, just not only started their own game program, right? But also because they're participating in Game Jam, they are now more successful on the Game On and are able to qualify even more in GDAP's Game On. Right? So these are the two positive things for industry or for that we saw, okay? Because of government supporting, wanting to support uh, industry having that supply, the supply end wherein the schools will supply the much needed talent for industry. There was this increase in these two major events, major gaming events. And of course, it doesn't stop here. These students who were participating in the game jam and the game on later on become professional, and you have the exponential growth of a company. There was a company that we were partnered with. The first time I knew them, I heard of them, partnered with them. There were only around 15 employees in the company, and now they're doing AAA outsourcing already, and they're close to 300 in manpower. So that's an amazing jump. Right? So this is one of the positive effects. Right? So moving forward, that's why the GDAP is really working with the Commission on Higher Education for making sure that the curriculum will always be on pace to where industry is headed. Now, it doesn't stop, of course, there. So, and the latest one is the introduction of the Philippine Skills Framework. Right? So, and the Philippine Skills Framework, just this year, the Department of Trade and Industry got participants from the academic or academe and industry to to stand in as contextualizers and validators. And the main goal is to produce the Philippine Skills Framework for game development and animation. And the Philippine Skills Framework was molded after Singapore's Skills Framework, but this was contextualized to the Philippine environment. And if we're going to look at the PSF, there are three parts to the PSF. One is the career pathways, the skills map, and the functional skills and competencies. So there, I can actually supply that for anyone. You can email me. I can send you a copy or a link. I'll also give a link to GDAP for if you want to download the PSF. It's a public document. Okay, so um, this is an example of the career map for game development. So again, there are two skills framework. One is for game development, one is for animation, and this is for game development. You can see that there are different pathways starting from the junior level up until you reach the head and the senior and the head level. Okay? So this is quite useful if you're looking to how your career path will go. Okay? If you want to level up, what's the next step? Okay? We also have this in animation. Right? So we also have this in animation. This is animation's career map. Again, starting out with junior, then going to senior, then going to lead, then you're going to the head. Yeah. So it's very, very useful to describe what is their career pathing for the industry. Okay. In addition, the skills framework already has a skills map. So here I have an example of lead technical artist with the description, and then what are the functional areas or career critical work functional areas. And aside from that, you have the different skills, the skills and competencies expected for that job function. Right? And just to cite an example here, you have game user interface development. That's one of the skill sets cited when we contextualize this in Philippine setting. You can also see this under a much more detailed functional skill competency, okay, or FSC. So earlier you have the game user development, and this is breaking down what are the underpinning knowledge and the level of expertise under this particular functional skill. Yeah. So the main advantage of having a PSF is actually threefolds. One is for it can be a guide for employees or employers rather. Employers, they say you're gonna do internal trainings. doing recruitment and selection, hiring, job rotation, and promotion. So these can all come into play. For schools, if you're a school, probably you want to make a curriculum, your curriculum, that what are the different subjects that you will need, and what are the skill sets that those subjects will need to produce as based on this FSC or the skills framework. Okay? So your curricula can now align towards where industry is headed or what is the context of where industry is at. So you're producing junior level to mid level. What are the skill sets needed? And already the PSF has it. And lastly, for individuals, especially for those wanting to jump from one industry to another, this can be a guide. Right? This can be a guide on what are the skill sets that you need to develop as an individual if you want to jump into a particular career path or career choice. So what does this mean, having the PSF? Okay, having the PSF, of course, the commission will need to adjust mainly because we are the ones, the committee is the one who is taking care of the baseline curriculum and guiding schools to where on what are the baseline skills that are needed. So here are just some of the things that the committee and the commission has been doing for the past couple of months. So we had several meetings. In the last meeting that we had, the very recent meeting is with the Animation Council of the Philippines, which is featured here. Right. So and the reason for sitting down with industry is in order to know where's the vision or what is the vision for the Philippines and where is the industry headed. So this is also, it's not only for the animation industry, but also for the game development industry. Right? So the technical committee would want to know that where are we headed in order to get that vision. Okay, that is the vision that we want to attain. Okay, want to produce. Here's the PSF, and we will need to marry the two, marry the two, and to make sure that to ensure that the schools that are using the CMO that will be produced will get or generate the graduates needed for their companies, for the industry. Right? So the technical committee is not only doing that, not only meeting industry associations, but also participating with the DTI's workshop, also the PSF. And that workshop will be this October. And I believe even people from the industry and the academy also be part of that. Right? So the main goal is to produce a draft to be completed. And once it's completed, okay, we will all stakeholders will be invited to a public forum. So there are still a couple of steps that will need to be done before the draft is approved and released. Okay, so the main target and the main goal of the committee is really to come up with the latest curriculum, the best curriculum, baseline curriculum that will fulfill the vision of the for the country, for our talents to be globally competitive and industry responsive. Right? So possible outcomes, of course, right now, these are just possible outcomes. It can change as we do the deliberations with industry, with the academe, with the different stakeholders, even with the considering the PSF. But the possible outcome is maybe a Bachelor of Science in Game Design and Development with potentially the majors that that is best to where the vision is, where the country is headed. Okay, and possibly a separate baccalaureate degree program for digital animation. Right, so these are the possible outcomes, um, and yes, so these are the different steps that is being done in the Philippines to make sure that the game development industry or the industry is up to par to where it wants to go and where it is headed. Okay? And so if there are any questions, feel free to email me. Here are my email addresses. You need links to where the PSF is, or just want to ask some questions or clarifications on what are the next step, you can contact me through this. Okay, so I hope that's quite informative for everyone. Okay, so enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.